Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to talk about my mistakes that I've done when I just started my journey in fashion blogging. I've been doing a few fashion mistakes again and again throughout so many years while learning what fashion is and finding my personal style. Everything that I'm going to tell you today is based on my personal experience, my opinion, and my personal feelings. I'm not going to give you some advice, but I'll try and give you some recommendations or suggestions on how to avoid doing those same mistakes, or if you have made them, to how to correct them in a safer and more pleasant way. And let me start with my first fashion mistake: buying more and more. Probably this mistake is common among those people who are passionate about fashion and who are seeking to learn what is their personal style and how to find the perfect capsule wardrobe. Or maybe among those people who love experimenting by changing their style quite often. In either case, the biggest mistake is buying more and more and more clothes, having for that different reasons. No understanding of what is his or her own personal style, experimenting with different styles, being afraid to miss on the opportunity of having this particular clothing item, wanting to be all the time trendy, having some extra money to spend on fashion items, not being sure how to choose correctly a specific item, so that's why I'll buy them all just in case. Just loving to collect fashion items, etc., etc., etc. And then not knowing how to incorporate that item into your entire wardrobe. These are just a few most common thoughts behind spending a lot of money on buying more, which doesn't necessarily mean good quality, the right design or color, the right fabric, the right number of items that are physically enough to wear in a year. That was, and sometimes it is still, my mistake number one, the biggest mistake. I know that it might sound horrible and might raise a lot of questions, but please, don't be judging ones for their mistakes whilst you have never been in their own shoes. The reason I had bought more was that I was afraid to miss on the opportunity to have this beautiful item, or wanting to have them all because I know for sure how I can style them in such an amazing way, or just wanting to look like someone else because they look so cool in those items and I want so too. Or maybe sometimes feeling frustrated about some other things and circumstances and my life, and doing shopping, I felt psychological relief for some short period of time. Most probably the habit of buying more is also related to a psychological state of mind, but that's another topic for another video. But when I decided to start my YouTube channel and my Instagram account, I was buying a lot of clothes because I wanted to share some outfits inspo on how to style them and how to create interesting outfits, because I was overly passionate about it. So having more clothes than I would have needed by choosing to create fashion content is something that I couldn't escape, unfortunately. But it didn't mean that I kept all of them, of course, although I was very tempted to keep the majority. So, how to avoid this mistake? In order to avoid this mistake, I would suggest you to not rush the decision of buying this particular item right now. Go and try it on in the store if you can, or order it at home. Feel it and try to create as many outfits as you can with it. Take pictures of every outfit you create with that item and give you a few days to think if you really need it, or it is just an impulsive moment of I want it right now. Lately, I've been teaching myself how to do it, and I give myself a week to think about it really well. Do I really need this item or not really? Do I have anything similar? Have I created enough outfits to be able to wear it as much as I can? Is there an urgent need of buying something like this? Is it a timeless piece or a trendy thing that will soon go out of trend? These are the questions that I started to ask myself before purchasing anything new and keep it for myself. The second mistake is wanting to look like someone else. And by saying that, I don't mean physically, but I mean fashion wise. I know how crazy it might sound for someone, but nowadays, with this social media access and all those trends going around in fashion industry and the culture of being judged by your clothes and how you look more and more, sometimes it can influence me to buy a particular thing that I saw at someone cool or famous. That feeling that I can have same thing as the biggest fashion influencer on Instagram or YouTube makes me think sometimes that I will be having that small part of the same success that this person achieved, which is completely wrong. I know that, but let's be honest with ourselves. Who doesn't want to be that famous as Victoria Beckham or Gigi Hadid and own the beautiful leather bag from Louis Vuitton or YSL? The truth is, I had quite a few designer bags that I bought on my hard worked money, and the amount of pleasure that I had about those bags was exactly a few days after I received them. And then the fire from my heart just started to calm down, and those bags became just expensive bags that didn't bring me that much pleasure anymore. Are they beautiful? Yes, they are. Does this purchase validate the same level of success that those superstars have? No, it doesn't, of course. In the end, I just spent a lot of time thinking about those bags, searching for them, and spending a horrendous amount of time and psychological implication to just ask myself afterwards, am I going to really spend so much money on those bags? And after having done that, me being frustrated for the money that I spent on those items that could be spent instead on something more valuable that potentially could make me more successful. And I'm speaking about myself now, the person who is not exposed to any fashion events where I'd maybe need those bags due to some standards or requirements. So, how to avoid this mistake? If you have a burning desire to buy a designer clothing item or a bag or shoes or whatever else because someone famous has it, ask yourself for how long will you be happy after owning this item? Will it make you more successful? Will it improve the quality of life that much that it's worth this amount of money? Is that item going to really change your life in a better way? If all the answers are truly and objectively yes, then of course, go ahead and buy it, but promise yourself that you'll not regret it later. But if you doubt at least one answer, probably you need to hold your horses and give yourself some time to think a bit more if it is worth the money. The third mistake is hesitating to say goodbye. Another common mistake, I believe, is hesitating to say goodbye to some of my clothes that have been sitting in my wardrobe for years without any use. Whenever I change the winter clothes for the summer ones, I always come across the same dozens of items that have never been worn and have even the tags attached. I always think that, okay, now it is the time. Now I'm going to really wear them. I rush to create several outfits, I write them down, and that's it. The idea of wearing them remains just in my head and on the paper or pictures. And to be frank, those clothes that are just sitting there for years and are accumulated to some new ones are just taking space and the energy and make me feel guilty all the time of the money that I spent and that I had no use of those clothes at all. How to avoid this mistake? The answer is simple here. Give yourself a week of thinking about that item before buying it and keeping it for yourself. Write a list of outfits that you can create with that item and make a plan of how often you're going to wear it. And if you really will wear it and you will enjoy doing so. But if it still happened and you have some clothes that you never wear and you're not sure if you still want to keep them, I would suggest two healthy ways of getting rid of them so that you don't feel guilty by just taking them to the recycle point. One way I solve this problem is by selling those items that I'm not going to wear anymore. There are so many apps and places nowadays where you can sell your clothes. Facebook Marketplace, Vinted, Depop, a designated Instagram account, a YouTube channel where you can advertise your own clothes. Why not? To organize a personal garage sale. The second way of getting rid of the clothes you are not going to wear anymore is to donate some of them to those who are in need. It will not bring you any financial advantage, but it will give you a sense of being helpful and a peace of mind that you maybe made someone happier, at least a little bit. The fourth mistake is buying trendy items. I can say that this is one of the biggest mistakes I make all the time. Although my style is more towards smart casual, it happens very often that I want to wear some trendy items, but because they are trendy and I know that they will not last for a long time, it takes me ages to finally decide to buy this or that trendy piece. And after I finally decided to play a bit with it, the trend is going out of the door. In this way, I accumulated so many trendy items from different decades and never been wearing them in the right time. With the time, I learned the golden rule. If I'm not going to become a trendy fashionista, I better invest in timeless pieces that I can wear for a very long time, or as long as they can serve me. How to avoid this mistake? It is a very controversial mistake for me because it depends what type of style someone prefers and what does his or her wardrobe look like, or what are the job dress code. If you are an Insta fashionista and love experimenting with the trendy items and you know when and how to wear them and for how long, then there is no problem with that. Buy and enjoy it. But if you are unsure how to implement trendy sparks into your wardrobe and no plan to wear them for a long time, you can better invest in timeless pieces that will serve you years. Allow yourself to play with trends in colors, accessories, and maybe some pairs of shoes. I believe this is a safer game when it comes to trends, rather than buying unusual shape or designs, patterns, or fabrics. The fifth mistake is buying cheaper. For a very long time, I didn't want to accept the fact that buying cheaper very often means buying bad quality clothes that will have a short life cycle. I'm not speaking about all affordable items and brands, not at all, but very often it is the case, I'm afraid. I experimented with so many brands and bought so many different items, and I also love to learn more about the fabric properties and I love touching different fabrics so that now I can make a difference between a good quality item that will last for a very long time and the cheap one that after a few washes will become a piece of clothing that needs to be recycled. It is very important to bear this in mind and be cautious when you are going to spend your hard-earned money on clothes. The main questions you need to ask yourself are: how long am I willing to wear this item? Do I want it to serve me for a long time and be a timeless piece? If you appreciate the quality of the fabric and want your clothes to look nice years after years, then I would suggest you spending a bit more money on some good quality clothes so that they will serve you for a very long time. Unfortunately, nowadays, with the fast fashion movement, a lot of brands want to make big margins and they are always in search for cheaper fabrics so that they can sell the finished product for a lot more, so that they have good profits. And unfortunately, not everyone is aware of that, or even if people are aware of that, very often people don't care about it too much because they will want to buy something new the next season. So here are some principles that come into play that you need to check with yourself. But that's a topic for another video. So how to avoid this mistake? My suggestion would be to check the fabric composition label and look for natural material. And what I mean by that is to look for fabric that will last for a long time and will also provide the best feeling while wearing them. For example, if you're looking for a winter coat, check for woolen coats. Not only they will keep you warm, but also they will last longer and will be a timeless piece in your wardrobe. If you can't afford to buy an expensive woolen coat as an alternative, you can buy a coat with a bigger percentage of wool. That would do too. The same rule applies for a jumper or trousers and blazers. If speaking about spring-summer clothes, choose clothes that contain cotton, linen, or viscose, as these fibers are natural. They also have very good properties for the body. Wearing a cotton or linen or viscose shirt or blouse will not make you feel hot in summer days, but also it will feel comfortable. You get my point. The rule is to check the fabric composition label. Here, I'd also suggest you to be careful with the care label too, as it is vital how you take care of your clothes because this also has an impact on their life longevity. The sixth mistake is buying it now but wearing it one day. Another big mistake that I have been doing until very recently was buying nice clothes, thinking that one day I will wear them for a special occasion. I would store them in my wardrobe and then never actually wear them at all, as that day would never come. And because they would not fit me anymore, or even worse, they would go out of trend or fashion would change so much that nobody would wear anything like that anymore. Remember, fashion is moving critically fast nowadays. So buying clothes for that special day don't make any sense anymore. I understand where it comes from for me specifically. It comes from my childhood, when my family didn't have too much money to spend on clothes, but also there was shortage of nice clothes. Back then, when I was a child and a teenager, there just wasn't such a big variety of clothes in general. So when we were going to shop something, for me, it was at most 2 to 3 items a year. And we were buying 1 to 2 items most, and then being a little bit bigger. So it comes perfect when I grow up a bit more in the next half a year. I know it doesn't make sense maybe for you, but those people who lived in former Soviet Union countries will understand me perfectly. It was called одежда на вырост, which means bigger size clothes for when you grow up a little bit more, so it can serve more time and it will fit you too. This feeling of buying something and keeping it for one special day is not applicable anymore. There isn't this shortage anymore. Now we have an abundance of clothes for any occasion at any time, and we have access to anything in minutes via our phones without even moving up from the bed. So no sense to buy something and keep it for that special occasion. Life is moving on so fast, and if you buy something that you like a lot, create that occasion for yourself and wear that item today. How to avoid these mistakes? Plan in advance your events and occasions or that special day when you need something specific, and do your research 2 3 weeks before it happens. So you have enough time to purchase it rationally and carefully, and so that it arrives to you in time. And if you don't like it or it doesn't suit you, you have plenty of time to purchase something else. But do not buy it years ahead without even having planned that special event or occasion and thinking that it will happen one day. So, in conclusion, here are my 6 fashion mistakes that I have been doing for a very, very long time. And in the end, if you ask me, so what does it mean that you do not buy new clothes anymore? I'll answer that definitely I buy, but I am more conscious of what I buy and if I really need that particular item or if I am going to really wear it. Was just an impulsive thought of buying it or not? I am more conscious about the quality of the clothes I buy because I want them to serve me longer, which means that I do not have to spend money continuously every season to renew my wardrobe because some of my clothes are not wearable anymore. Of course, with the fast fashion moving so really fast and new designs and colors coming up in fashion industry, the temptations are ridiculous. But still, I try to be more rational now than ever. And even if I buy something, I have a rule to either sell something instead from those clothes that I'm not going to wear anymore or donate them. This helps me not only to clear up the space in my wardrobe, but also makes me psychologically feel better that I do not have lots of clothes that just keep space and have no use. So the rule is 1 for 1, and I try to apply it every time I am tempted to buy something new. In the end, clothing is not a necessity nowadays anymore. It is a way of showing your wealth and status, but also a game that makes clothing brands become richer against regular people who become poorer because of their regular spending on clothes, which in essence do not have a huge positive impact on our health and life. Let me know in the comments below what are your fashion mistakes and how you try to avoid them. I hope you enjoyed this video and you took something good out of it for yourself. I appreciate your like and comments and you becoming a subscriber to my channel, as there are going to come more interesting videos very soon. See you shortly and spend your hard-earned money consciously.